Hi, I'm Francois from Production Music Live, today with producer notes, and we're taking a look at the Afro house styles of SAMM AJNA from Belgium, the remix for Home by Camelphat and Rhodes, and we have a fully arranged track here lasting 5.5 minutes. It's sort of reverse engineered from that track using only Ableton stock effects and instruments plus Serum plus PML sounds, different harmonies, different melodies and different vocals. And quickly, let's take an arrangement overview. We have an intro. With a high-passed kick and these bunch of chords here. And then we're bringing in our percussions after like 15 seconds. We also have custom vocals here for this one. And then we are bringing in more elements.
I'm in my emotion, drinking magical potion. Now I'm lost in the moment.
And then we bring back the kicks that were high passed here at 120. We will have a full playback of the entire track at the end of this video, but now let's skip into this bridge here right before the first drop. And we drop, and we have these early chords playing here, always right in front of the new bar. This is kind of groovy. And don't get scared by all these layers. We reverse engineered something that was probably done with different instruments, and so we needed a bunch of layers to get to the same sound, but it's not that complicated at the end of the day. And then after this drop has been playing through a couple of times, we are entering the main break part at around 3 minutes. And how do we build up tension here? We are basically holding the bass note of our fundamental F sharp here. We are in F sharp minor, and we've been playing around with the chord progression and with different bass notes here in the drop. And now in the break, we are sort of building up this tension by just playing this one note in the bass, and then, you know, finding different chord combinations to play on top of it. By the way, we set it up with this recorded piano here. If you have a nice piano plugin, you can always replace it and put that on this track. We just set it up in this way so it's really compatible. If you have Ableton and Serum, then you're already good to go to load this up. And now we're going into this build-up part after like 3.5 minutes. And then we enter the second drop where before we're building up some tension with Atmos and pads. Yeah, and then the drop repeats one more time without the vocals, and then we're getting ready for the outro. And this project file is part of the Afro House Pack Volume 2. We had a bunch more requests for more Afro House, so we sat down and produced some more Afro House, and this one is part of that. Link in the description. And let's have a quick overview of the groups. This is the bass group. I'm quickly just playing that one. So we just have sustained bass fundamentals here, and then we have this plug thing at the end being combined with what the piano is doing down there. And in our drums group, let me quickly solo this one. And let's also solo it in a part where less elements are playing. And below that we have our instruments group, which in an outro sounds like this. And in a drop sounds like this. It's quite interesting how, you know, there remains some tension in here because we keep some of those plucks pads playing and stable, and that creates a bit of tension, but it works. It's also adding this dreamy vibe. Then we have a bunch of effects here, nothing crazy in the effects group. The usual risers and crashes, and our vocals group sounds like this.
Ain't no holding back from me, because you are all I see. And I want you to stay, cause I realize you're all I need.
With those nice harmonics down here.
Ain't no holding back from me, because you are all I see.
You wouldn't have guessed that, huh?
You are all I see.
And that one is pitched down.
You are all I see.
And return channel A is a long reverb, 3 seconds. Return channel B is an echo. Set up this way, they both get sent into this send channel here, sidechained, and then sent into the master. That looks like this. Just some saturation on top of everything, and then 2 limiters, who are SAMM and AJNA. They're Belgium-based DJ producer duo. They make house, Afro house, percussive grooves. They've created the super nice remix for Home by Camelphat, and they've released on labels like Magnific and MYR. So let's take a look at some of the most important elements one by one. I'm going to copy over this part to the back so we can focus a bit better on it. So we have a pretty round and smooth kick sound. This is also going into the sample pack part of this Afro House Volume 2. And what's the kick sound? It's pretty round down there. And sometimes we are just high passing it by activating this rack. And towards the end of some bars, we are playing this kick roll, which is the same kick, but we resampled it to play quickly. You know, so these are 32s. And also we have this tom loop below, which is rendered out now as this loop sound. That's also part of this sample pack here. You can find it in the loops and in the toms, and then it's the one called Need. but you also have it as a one shot because that's how we set it up here. So I'm quickly going to copy over the MIDI, created this one with Serum because we needed this one set up properly here with the velocities. First one has a low velocity, then a bit higher, then super high in this position, and then back down. So dum, 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 dum. That's what it's doing. And let's listen in. Just a super cool groove, all in F sharp here. And then on top of that, we have a high tom sitting, which I'm going to copy over as well. And that one is also a sample now in there. And quickly taking off the reverb, that's here for mixing purposes. Let's look at the notes. If you listen to it like this, you're like, really? Are we using that? Not only that, but it's sidechained. We also use it with reverb on top. But I'm keeping this off for now, not to mess with your ears. This is something, you know, that then makes sense in the mix of the elements. But if you listen to some of these parts in solo, you would never guess that this will make the final cut. So zooming out, next we have a bunch of percussion elements that I'm going to copy over that are super important to get this style right. And we have the same pattern for all these three here. Let's quickly take a look. So we are playing this marching pattern here. Look at 16th notes. We are at 1, 3, and then 2, 4, and then 3, 1. Okay, and let's combine that with the other elements. And you notice our high tom and this percussion are playing in the same moment. At least in the first pattern here. That makes it interesting, by the way. You have the second part being slightly different, and then we repeat them going together. Just super groovy already, and we're not even working with groove at the moment. So another sound on top. We just need a bit of width to the sound. And remember, this one is reverse engineered. So you're trying to listen to a reference track and then you're trying to come up with all the layers that they might have been using, but it's very well possible that the original artist had a sample that sounded like these three combined. And just use that one. So take that with a grain of salt here. Just a nice way to see how you can sort of reverse engineer sounds and see how it came together. I'm copying over the next element here, which is a rim. And this one is now playing 16th notes. And we're always saving the third position here. Just in the last one, we're playing it through. And notice, in the entire track, we are not playing any snare or clap. And And that's how we're getting this trippy feeling, because if you have a snare or a clap now on the ish position, this one gets, it's sort of less trippy. You sometimes also have that in techno tracks. They don't use a clap or a snare position. They just focus on the hi-hats and on the trip somehow. Okay, jumping over to the next element, which here is a piano. And we're playing different velocities. As mentioned before, you can also use your own piano plugin, or I think Keine Musik are, for example, using the Piano V2 from Arturia. But any plugin will do. You can also download the Ableton Suite Piano plugin or pack. And we just have a recorded Keyzone piano here. And we are playing F sharp minor in our first chord. How do we know that? Let's quickly, we have our root note F sharp here. Let's bring down A. And now you can see it. It's voiced up an octave, but if we bring it down, you can see minor third followed by a major third. That is F minor, F sharp minor. And we are voicing up the fifth 2 octaves, and we are voicing up the third 1 octave. And our second chord here is B minor. And if we just look at the upper 3 notes, it's easy to see. Minor third, major third. Let's zoom in a bit more here. And our next chord is D, the 5th, the root note again, and again the root note. So we don't even know the quality of this one just from looking at the chord this way. It's a D5. It's a D, root note, and a 5th on top. And the last chord in our progression here is again B. But this time something's different. We still have an A in there. So let's actually bring down C from up here and bring that down an octave. And have it sitting next to our root note B. And also bring down A. So if we look at it now with A down here, A is our 7. Let's actually put in the scale. It's easier to see for everyone when we put in the scale. So F sharp or G flat minor. And if B is our root note from this chord, then C sharp is our 2nd, F sharp is our 5th. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 and A is the 7. So we have a B, a 5th, the 7th. So it's kind of a 7th chord, but we are not playing the 3rd, which would be D. This would be a B minor 7. But that's not what we're looking for here. We're looking for the 3rd to be placed in the sus chord position. That's a B sus2 chord with a 7th on top. These chords are always really nice, but you have to voice them properly so you don't mess up. I'm undoing quickly what we've done here. Different voicing. So F sharp minor, B minor, D, and the 5th, and a B7 sus2 chord. And sometimes we'll have the last chord in here. Let's quickly take a look at that as well to sort of resolve everything. And that's an E. And the 5th on top, another E, the 5th on top, and another E. So that's our chord progression. It's a 1, 4, 6, 4 progression. And sometimes to resolve it, we have a 1, 4, 6, 4, and 7 with that E down here, and then repeat it again. Okay, we have a second piano sound here, which I'm also going to copy over. And now I remember we haven't even looked at the bass yet, because this piano is going together with our bass sound. So let's go back and take a look at the bass group. Up here, we have 2 sustained bass sounds and 2 bass sounds higher up. Let me quickly copy them over. And this one is our sub. And these are the notes our piano is playing an octave higher. And we are just playing the root notes of all of the chords that we just looked at. And we are doing that in our low frequencies here with Serum and a sub oscillator, a saw wave, and a BS2 acid one. But then, you know, we are rolling off the high end information. And we make sure the release and sustain are set up in a way that the transitions between notes are super smooth. And now for our mid information, we have a mid layer here. You can see this one is occupying these frequencies. And this one is wider. We have 7 voices on this PWM Genji. Kind of serves as a Reese type thing. So you almost have this Moog-like sustained fundamental layer here, and on top we are playing these bass plucks. Sounds a bit like a, you know, harsh Moog envelope on top of it. And we have the basic mini in oscillator A, and we have 8 voices of a saw wave in oscillator B. And then that gets sent into the filter MG low 24. And we're rolling off information that's already set up by our bass sub, and we don't need the high information, because we have that piano sitting on top of it. If I'm playing the piano quickly on top of it as well, here. Right? And then just for our frequency spectrum fill out, we have another plug, bass plug on top. It's not really a bass. It's, you know, it's just the same sound basically, almost, but let's actually take a look. It's slightly different. We have a triangle wave here and just one voice, and we're playing that an octave higher. It's just ever so slightly. It's not really super super loud or something, but it helps you achieve this more full sound. And now again, probably if you have a Moog or some other instrument that you want to play this with, if you would start this from scratch, you would probably not layer as much, but we reverse engineer. So we're trying to figure out, hey, what kinds of sounds could be in there as well? Or what kinds of layers do we need? And then we can put it together this way. And let's play it all together. Okay, so let's make those a bit smaller here. Click the height knob, and here as well. That one is already clicked. And now we have a whole bunch of hi-hats and shakers and rides, pretty much standard stuff. So I'm just going to copy over this section, because this is, you know, it's a hi-hat loop, which will be put in here as well. A closed hi-hat, a top loop, another closed hi-hat, an open hi-hat down here. In the off position, The one here was in the 16th notes. And in this case, we're using the Calypso accent 16th groove. A ride on top. And a shaker for the in-between parts. And all combined. Okay, moving over to the leads in this case, which are our typical Afro house one note things, or actually that's the plug, but these behave kind of similarly. So root note, third an octave higher, second and root note. So. And we layered this with one instance of Serum here, playing these oscillators, saw wave and square wave, 3 voices, and a noise. ARP circuit. And we're playing it again with this sound. Saw wave, and then basic shapes, a sine wave drawn like this with 8 voices, and we have the hyper active. And the third sound is this one, an octave higher, to fill out those frequencies as well all together. And then we have this mid-side EQ here, rolling off some mid-frequencies on the sides and focusing the sound a bit more in the middle. And some erosion on top. To help cut through the mix, because we have all these hi-hats here and cymbals, and the erosion helps us to cut through that. And if I remember correctly, we have the vocals down here, which trigger a dynamic EQ setup. Yeah. So we have this EQ here on the arps group that reacts whenever the vocals group is playing something, or, you know, that's the envelope follower that then controls the gain of our dynamic EQ setup here. So we have enough room for the vocals. I'm quickly turning them off again, and we take a look at the other plug sound here, which is the typical Afro house one note, 16th notes. Saw and triangle setup, and 8 voices of that wavetable. And this shape is how we control our MG low 18 decibels per octave filter. Then we also have this so-called pluck guitar below. This is always a good idea to put into your tracks, just makes it feel more alive. A bit of you know, sprinkled notes here and there with some velocities, with something that sounds like a pluck guitar, which is also just a pluck sound. And this one sent through a chorus. So it's not as centered, but it's a bit wider. And below that, we have keys. What are those doing? Okay, that's an element we are using in the break, which I'm going to skip right now. It's not really super necessary for the basic setup. Yeah, and now, behind everything, we need some pads that are playing basically the same our pianos are playing. Very nice progression also. And it's a Juno, and Juno 6 voices, 1 voice, so we have a nice wide pad sound, and then we also have our cut off not too open. And this LFO controls it a bit so it moves around. Yeah, and then we have a bunch more pad sounds to fill out the frequency spectrum. For example, this bright one up here. The longer attack time. This one takes a while to come in. You can see that here in the envelope setup. It's kind of, you know, the piano hits, and then we have a bit of room for the piano, which is up here. And it kind of stops here. So the piano stops here in this area. And then we bring in this bright pad to sort of take over from there. And that's also how you can achieve movement in your sounds by, you know, distributing it over different types of instruments. And on top of that, we still have, you know, these more stable pads, these high pads here. These are playing, you know, if F sharp is our root, then this is our fifth. It's playing constantly the fifth right on top. It's this typical house high pad thing that helps you create tension. And pad mid, at the end of the day, is doing the same thing. It's filling out frequencies that we are not covering all the time, but that, you know, we want to be there. Root note, fifth, and the third up here. Oh no, it's the second, sorry. And the second up there for a bit of tension. Another saw rounded to square with LFO controlling the filter movement. Okay, so these are, I would say, the most important elements, and quickly take a look at the vocal setup here. We have the main vocal recording.
Holding back from, ain't no holding back from me, because you are all I see, and I want you to stay, cause I realize you're all I need. Ain't no holding back from me.
So we have a bit of reverb on top of it with a decay time of 4.5 seconds, and then we are sidechaining the tail.
Ain't no holding back from me.
And cleaning up the lows. And then we have some delay on top of it, a 4x4 delay, feedback to 20%.
Ain't no holding back from me. Because you are all I see, and I want you to stay.
And you can see we are just focusing on this area to let that delay play through. And then we have a doubler, which is taking advantage of the Haas effect here.
Ain't no holding back from me.
And yeah, we are using the dry signal as the control for our arps here for this dynamic EQ setup to always duck this down when the dry signal is active, not when the tail is active. So
Holding back from me, because you are all I see, and I want.
okay, yeah, so these are our main elements. I would say let's quickly sum it up before we play it all together and have a final playthrough. So it's super important in this case to have a nice warm round kick sound like this one. And then the first thing you will do then is most probably set up your toms around that. And then be playful with the kicks. That's super, super nice with these rolls. And then you can play your high toms on top of that. And again, here we are playing F sharp, our root note. We're playing the fifth down there, and we're playing the third here. So that these are, you know, pentatonic notes that make perfect sense, and you already have your groove going now. Kick, low tom, high tom. And now with the sub bass we are entering a fundamental to it. And this bass plug here is just taking care of these quick chord changes. And now we can already get started with percussion elements. Rim shots, sticks and shakers. Very interesting in this one, no claps, but a whole bunch of cymbals and shakers and rides and shaker loops. For stereo width and groove. Then we have the typical Afro house grand piano playing along with this extra piano here, emphasizing on the bass note changes. And we have a 1-4-6-4 progression here. On top of that, we are playing nicely layered lead arps. But we are not forgetting about the genre-specific 16-note pluck arpeggio, or just pluck. Mono pluck, that is. And we have it. Now we have it. You know, now you can enter pads, mellow and more brighter, and with slower attacks and faster attacks, and fill out your frequency spectrum with high pads and stuff. But you've now gotten the genre right. And if you are able to sing dreamy vocals yourself, now you can get creative, or if you have a vocalist at your fingertips, you can get started with a nice dreamy vocal track on top. And these vocals are also part of this Afro House Soundpack Volume 2 edition here, with more project files and even 3 project file that you can just pick up at productionmusiclive.com in the style of Hugel, I Adore You. So feel free to check out the link in the description to pick that up. Also to pick up the entire sound pack. And if you want to learn Afro House from start to finish, check out our Afro House start to finish bundle. And if you're saying, hey, I really like what you're doing, I want all of it, I want more of it, I want to support you in the most effective way, then you're picking up the Everything bundle, also linked in the description. And if you're saying, hey, I'm more interested in learning about how to write chords and melodies, I'm also linking to our music theory class in the description, which will be super helpful. So thank you for your time and attention today. I'll have a full playthrough right now through the entire track, and I'll talk to you again soon.
You are